Okay, so today is January 30th, and as you can see, a lot of seedlings have popped up. So these are all hot peppers. I planted the seeds on January 21st. Most of them came up 2 days ago, and a lot of them came up just yesterday. So this is actually really fast for peppers. Usually my peppers take between 10, 12, sometimes 14 days just to germinate. So this was really quick. I do have my lights on. I wanted to make sure that the seedlings were hit with light as soon as they pop through the soil so that they don't get leggy trying to reach up and reach some light. So a lot of them, you can see, pretty short little stalky plants already. I do have my heat mat on. This is the BN Link heat mat. It's 10 by 20 inches, and it fits this tray, like just these standard seedling trays, really good. But once they all pop through the soil, then I'll turn the heat mat off. We just need it just to get them to germinate. But this year, instead of doing the usual 72 cell seed trays that I usually do, I went ahead and got ones that were a little bit bigger so that I won't have to up pot these, hopefully, at all until I put them in the ground. When I do put peppers in here, because I start the peppers so early, because they take so long to produce, we probably won't see a pepper on any of these plants until August or September. But when I start them in these tiny little cells right here, I have to end up potting them multiple times before they go out into the ground. And I thought it would just be much more convenient and save so much time and work if I just went ahead and planted them in a bigger cell right here. So my plan is to actually have one plant in each of these cells. I know myself. I always have a very hard time thinning out plants. I just feel bad for them because they just want to grow, and then I end up keeping them all. I'm really going to try to just keep one per cell in here. But I do overplant so that in case anything goes wrong, there is backup in each cell. And each one of these cells has 3 plants. So you can see like the habanada right here. All 3 of those popped up. You can see the natapino back there. All 3 of those came up. There's another natapino. All 3 of those. So I planted 3 cells of the natapino, 2 habanadas, and 2 Res Ha Macedonian, which is a very hot pepper, I think. 1 regular jalapeno and pretty and sweet. And of course the natapino and habanada, that is a habanero without heat. And the natapino is a jalapeno without heat. I wanted to do 1 regular one just to compare the two. See the taste difference, if they taste any different. And here's pictures of all the varieties I planted. This is what the pretty and sweet pepper looks like. It just looks like an ornamental jalapeno. Really pretty, but sweet. And then, of course, the regular. This is my husband's pepper. The Res Ha Macedonian, ugliest pepper I've ever seen. And I actually forgot to plant regular habanero. So this is a regular habanero, and then this is a habanero without heat. Forgot to plant any of these. So I'm actually going to just take a seed out and just show you in case anybody is interested. I had a couple people ask me how I start seeds. So I'm going to take a regular habanero seed, and these are from the Dollar Tree, 4 for $1. And I've been planting them like every year for 3 or 4 years, and they still germinate, so they seem fine. I'm going to put a regular habanero seed in the corner where there's nothing of the habanada, and then just document that this plant right here will be a regular habanero. So you can see the seed on the soil. I just push it in lightly and then cover it with a little tiny bit of soil, and that is it. Now, before I planted all of these seeds, I did pre-moisten the soil. So this is peat moss. At the beginning, when you first get a bag of seed starting mix, a really fluffy, good mix, has a lot of peat moss or coco coir, it's going to be hydrophobic. It's going to repel water. So I take this seed starting mix, put it in a bucket, put a cup of water in it, and then I mix it up and make sure that it is soaked with water before I put it in. Not soaked, not dripping, but like pleasantly moist before I pack my cells here. And then after I plant the seed in the pre-moistened soil, I just spray it with water. And that is it. And I keep it moist. That is the most important thing. You cannot let your seeds dry out. If they dry out even once, it's going to ruin the germination process and you're not going to have seeds come up. So make sure you just check every day. Make sure the soil is moist. You don't want it dripping wet, but you also don't want it too dry. You want it to be like the consistency and wetness of like a dish sponge that has been soaked in water and then wrung out. That is the type of dampness that my soil is. If you put too much water in it, you'll get mold on top. You can see a tiny bit of mold in a couple of these cells. Then you can get root rot and all that will destroy your plants. I also like to water them from overhead, like I was showing, over top. A lot of people want you to water from the bottom. Every time I do that, I don't know how much water to put in here so that the top of the soil is properly moistened and it reaches the seeds, but also enough water that I don't have a bunch left over in the tray. Every time I do that, there's always a bunch of water left over in the tray, and then I gotta pull these out and dump the tray out so that they don't rot. And just to me personally, I've been doing it for years. I like watering from the top, but you know, you do you. But yeah, I do have the 72 cell seed trays. I'm going to start tomatoes in these, probably some flowers. It was really cool. I got one tray of these ones, like the bigger ones, so I won't have to up pot these since they're going to be in here for a long time. These peppers are going to be in my house for probably like 4 months altogether. 3-4 months. They're going to be pretty big. I don't want to pot them up. But I did get another tray of the regular 72 cell. And I'm going to use these for my tomatoes. I will probably start my tomatoes in late March, early April, and I won't have to up pot my tomatoes because they'll go straight from these little cells into the ground. And our last frost date, I think, is the end of April. That's an estimated last frost date, but I don't put anything in the ground until May 15th. I always take an extra 2 weeks after the estimated last frost date just to be on the safe side so I don't lose any of my plants. I do stick a couple out just to see, you know, if they survive. Cool, you have a head start. But I would never put all of my plants out on the estimated last frost date. But yeah, so another cool thing, this tray that I got contained all of these big ones, and then of course I got the 72, but they break off individually, so you can break them all apart. You can mix and match. Like I plan to put the smaller ones on this side, and then I can start some flowers, or I can even have my tomatoes in here, and then I have another tray down here with some cells on this side, bigger ones on this side. And yeah, I thought that would be much more convenient. And then we also have my lights. If you're going to do this, if you're going to have plants in your house and you're going to have lights, I highly, highly suggest to get a timer. And you can see that plugged in the back. It is so hard to remember to turn lights on in the morning and to turn them off in the evening. Very, 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 very hard. I cannot remember to do it. I just can't. Even if I have an alarm, I still can't. You can see our little graveyard here. So we ordered a bunch of Bluetooth smart plugs, and these were crap. The apps would crash, the timers would get all messed up, or if like the power went out or the app shut off or the Wi-Fi went out, it would mess the timer up. So we eventually just got one where you can just manually do it with your hand, and we'll see how that works. But yeah, definitely get a timer. It will help you so much. And don't forget to check on your plants and keep them moist. And so these right here, these little leaves that you see, these are the cotyledon leaves, which are the leaves that are contained within the seed casing when you plant them. So these aren't real leaves, as everybody says. These are the cotyledon. But when they get their first true set of leaves, that is when I will fertilize them with some diluted fish fertilizer. And I'm not exactly sure if this seed starting mix contains fertilizer. I don't think it does. A lot of seed starting mix is just coco coir or peat moss, which doesn't contain any fertilizer. So I don't know, I'll have to read about it, but I am still going to take some fish fertilizer and fertilize these guys when they get their first true leaves. And I will be planting some tomatoes in here. I'm going to do some flowers. A lot of seeds I actually direct sow, like sugar snap peas, beans, melons. I don't think I've ever started a melon indoors. They're just so easy to direct sow in the ground. And plus, plants like cucumbers and melons, they grow so fast. Pumpkins, squash, they grow so fast that they would outgrow this cell in just like probably like a week. So then you just have to put them in the ground anyways. So I just go ahead and put the seed in the ground. But yeah, I'll be starting some flowers indoors, herbs, tomatoes, and I will do another little update on these guys. Maybe in about a week. We'll see how many more pop up, and I'll see you then.